is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who? Season 3, Episode 7, The Lazarus Experiment. In this episode, a man comes up with a magical vestibule that he can step inside and then step out looking only slightly better than he did when he went in. And it turns out, wonder of wonders, he didn't really test this thoroughly enough, and he's a monster. You know, I really actually kind of liked this one. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
And I am Jamie.
So, yeah, can I just say really quick off the top, and please, everyone, don't stop the podcast and throw your phone, but I really love this whole story as like an analogy of men stealing women's livelihoods and ideas for science and putting their own names on it and trying to attain immortality via history. Because he's just like taken this poor woman who is his wife's idea and her work and leaving her behind. Yep. And it's just like, whatever, I don't need you. And I'm like, yep, that's a thing that would happen and has happened so many times.
Question.
Yes.
Did you recognize him?
Oh, yes. That is Sherlock's brother, Mycroft Holmes.
Indeed it is. And also Tychos Nesteros from Game of Thrones.
Oh, my God, right. Yeah. Except he didn't have the hat, which was just such a disappointment.
Oh, I read this thing about they wanted to do something with his hair, and they ran out of time or budget, or their budget was really small. They couldn't get a decent wig. So he had a wig from the League of Gentlemen, which was another series that he was on. And he was like, I can run home and get it. I have it. And so they rented the wig from him so that he would have this weird blonde hair.
Yeah, his hair is real weird in this. I wonder why they decided to do that. Did they just want to make him look sort of unnatural and strange?
I think so. I think so. I watched a behind-the-scenes thing about the makeup, and like they showed him getting all of the like putty put on his face, and then they made the mask thing, and then like how it took like 3 hours to put this old man makeup on him, and he was just like delighted with how disturbing he looked. He was just having a blast with it. He seems like a delightful person.
I was about to say, like, I don't know anything about him, and I'm not really I'm not interested in finding out. If y'all know a bunch of like problematic shit about him, you just keep that shit to yourselves. But he seems like somebody that really like is into the whimsy of things. There's just something about the way that he acts, no matter what he's in, that I really always get the sense he's having an awesome time. And it's something that I think informs his characters, because Mycroft is like such a pain in the ass and such a fucking stick in the mud sometimes, and yet you love him in his way. And I think that's because it's him playing. I feel like somebody else would do it, and there wouldn't be that sort of like fun to it.
Right.
So I really like him. Once I realized that he was, because I was trying to figure out what actor it was under the makeup initially. And once he steps out, I was like, oh, dang. Okay, I'm here. Let's do this.
There was a brief little interview with him in the behind the scenes thing about how it was him and David Tennant, and they were talking about how they've done things in the past together, but it was always audio. So this was the first time that they got to act together on screen. And Mark Gatiss was like, I just think that it's a perfect thing because there's all this scenery chewing that we both can do. And I was like, oh, you're that guy. I got you now.
Right.
I understand what kind of actor you are because you're super excited for how just stupid this can be and how much fun you can have playing it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean is like he just doesn't take himself that seriously. And it's amusing that he tends to play characters that take themselves seriously when he just gives off the opposite sort of vibe himself. But I enjoy him.
It reminds me of, I was just listening to a podcast recently about the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which, if you haven't seen it, is actually a really fun movie. And
yeah, that's a good one.
I guess the sort of note that Judd Apatow gave Jason Segel when he was starting to write it was, write the drama and we'll find the comedy when we're doing it. And I really like that concept because then you're telling like a true story and you're making it funny instead of trying to make something falsely funny or forcing something to be funny. And I think maybe Mark Gatiss is that kind of actor where it's like, this is a dramatic role and I'm going to find the fun in it. And that's going to make it more fun for people to watch.
That's some of what I've been really loving about Deadwood is there are moments that are deadly serious or upsetting. And there'll be somebody who just figures out that moment and there's like a twitch of the mouth or the way some people exchange looks between each other or just the way somebody sort of straightens up and sucks their gut in and you just fucking cackle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love little subtle things like that.
Is that
don't
usually
get me wrong.
Is it usually Al Swearingen?
Oh no.
Oh.
I mean, Al Swearingen certainly has his fair share, but everybody in that cast does this hard. Actually, I would say more often than not it's not him because he's the one who has to keep his poker face usually.
I guess that's true.
So it's all the people around him.
I just always found him really funny because he says a lot of things that would crack me up.
Oh yeah, his dialogue is certainly top notch. I mean, it's probably the best out of all the characters. But yeah, I love bombastic comedy as well. I'm not, but there are moments like that feel really human. And I'm a big fan in life of trying to find those moments, even when things are really bad, because it helps, So when I see characters doing that, it just feels so true to me.
Yeah.
Of the way that some of us decide to deal with things and, or not deal with things, as the case may be.
Yeah, I always have that moment of anxiety when I try to find the humor in a situation and I realize that people didn't understand I was trying to be funny. Because my delivery tends to be very dry. And then I'll be like, I was kidding, you guys.
Meanwhile, I deliver practically everything with like a laugh and a smile and a like sardonic look. And then people be like, oh, that was so funny. And I'm like, no, I'm mad at you. You fucked up. No, this isn't, no. Like, all right. So the start of this episode is the Doctor directing the TARDIS in some direction. I always enjoy when there's close-ups of the dash and the weird like amber ball that he rolls around somehow.
Have we seen that before?
I feel like we have.
Okay. Because I couldn't remember. I was looking and I was like, have I seen him use the little... It's like... What's that video game? Centipede? It's like the centipede ball. On the old... Like, big...
Was it like the cabinet game?
Yeah.
I have never played that, I don't think.
Oh, it had a ball like that. And
It feels like it'd be so hard.
It was a very hard game because you're rolling around this 8-bit caterpillar thing. Centipede.
Ma'am, it's in the name. It's not even in the name. It is the name.
Anyway.
So yeah, he is dropping off, so he thinks at this moment, Martha. And it's so like Martha's just not picking up on the signals here because he's like, oh, well, did it in such a tight space. And she's like, well, where are we? And he says the end of the line. And she's like, ooh, what's that? And I'm like, girl, no, that's not a metaphor. That's what it is. And when she opens the door and realizes that she's in her apartment, she is deeply disappointed. And as they're standing there sort of being awkward, her mother calls and leaves a message telling her her sister is on television and that she should check it out. So she turns it on, and it's some dude talking about how he's going to be revealing this major discovery and it will change what it means to be human. And the doctor is getting back into the TARDIS to leave, and then he like stops and sticks his head out and is like, wait, did he just say he's gonna change what it means to be human? And that's pretty much the whole cold open, is him like starting to bail and then sort of taking it back, and also picking up Martha's dirty panties off of a chair, which I was just like, hey.
How do you know they were dirty?
Because he said laundry, and I don't leave clean panties just like sitting around. Do you?
No, but I put my laundry away right away. Otherwise, it will sit there until it's all worn and dirty again. So
wow, what is it like to live like that, Jamie? Because I pretty much, don't get me wrong, have like a full dresser right now. And that's part of why I don't put shit away. Because I literally can't fit it all unless I put things in storage. And what a drag. So I just live out of laundry baskets most of the time.
Well, I had to condition myself to do it immediately after I've done laundry. Otherwise, I know it won't get done. Mm-hmm. So it became like a habit instead of a hard and fast rule. It's like, I know how lazy I am. So do it now.
Yeah, I need to be better. To be fair, though, my dresser is like a 3-foot wide, like plastic set of drawers. What are they called? Like Rubbermaid?
Yeah.
You know? Because I have this like tiny closet in my office, and I have to have a dresser that fits inside that little closet. And our house is really small. So there's not even room for 2 dressers in our bedrooms. And Owen has the one. And when I first moved in, he had way more clothes than me. And he still kind of does have way more clothes than me. So there's just not a lot of room to put stuff away. But anyway, so...
I'm sorry. Does he use the entire dresser to himself?
Yeah. Because he has a lot of pairs of jeans. He kind of collects T-shirts, so like 2 full drawers of T-shirts. And
you guys need to Marie Kondo that shit to make space.
I think so, but honestly, it's super inconvenient to have your clothes in 2 different places. When I first moved in, that we had it like sort of split like that, and I hated it. So as much as I don't like having no room, I actually sort of prefer this to sharing with him. Okay. And also, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. He's so disorganized. Sharing space with him would stress me out. I just like things to be where they're supposed to go, is all I'm saying. That's part of what stresses me out about my clothes, is that, you know, they don't have what people say, everything has a place and put everything in its place. Well, my clothes don't have a place yet. They're still out here homeless, searching. And I have to get a shelter.
It's making me really desperately want to go on IKEA's website and find a dresser that will work for you.
There's literally nowhere to put it. That's the problem. You know, we've looked at it and we've tried measuring some spaces and things that we thought would work. They would just barely not fit. It was such a bummer. Like, we kept thinking, oh, okay, this one look at how narrow it is. There's no way that won't fit. And it was like a 1/2 inch too wide. It just would not, you know.
I hate that.
Same. So,
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So he decides to stick around, and we cut to the conversation between Lazarus and Lady Thaw.
Lady Thaw. Which makes me think she's not actually his wife, even though later he says, why would I waste another lifetime on you? Mm-hmm. So maybe she is. Maybe he married her for her money, and she's a lady, so she goes by her, you know, official knighted name. I don't know what it's called when they're given a ladyship or a duchess or whatever.
A duchess ship?
Duchess
Try
ship.
saying that 3 times fast.
Brit,
Duchess ship.
Brit listeners, please weigh in on how this works so that I understand, because I am being honest in my ignorance. I'm not going to try to make up what I think it means.
It's amazing the inventions as a human race that we will come up with for why we are better than other people. We just came up with this whole like system of hierarchies, and every culture has done it, really.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird how like fixated we get on these sorts of things.
What's really weird is how here in the U.S., even though most of the people who were here during the Revolutionary War had at some point come over from England, they didn't adopt this practice of like giving people these kinds of titles. Lords and ladies and dukes and duchesses and all of that. We don't have that here, when they easily could have integrated that into...
Well, it's part of the monarchy, and the whole point of coming here was to not be that.
Is it like actually part of the monarchy? That's my question.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
Okay.
Like, those are people that sort of would be in the line of succession if, you know, a whole bunch of folks before them died. They would still be, like, on the table.
It makes me think of in A Song of Ice and Fire, like, when they're given lands, they're made a lord. So, like when What's-His-Face Janos Slynt was given Harrenhal, he was made Lord Janos Slynt because he was given Harrenhal. But that doesn't have anything to do with the line of succession or anything. It's just a title that he was given because he was also given a castle. So that's where I question it.
I don't mean like I'm talking about like the extreme circumstance that everybody else died. You would go to the next in line. And so it's not really like they're eligible, but it's sort of like this distant tie that I feel is part of why somebody just being given a lordship when their entire family doesn't actually come from nobility is seen as a kind of insulting to everybody whose family was.
Right.
They're still like, the lordship does not actually elevate them in most people's eyes. It's just more money, and they have to scrape some sort of respectability out of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Well, guys, let us know. Let us know what this really is. So yeah, she is talking, and when she says, so I'm going to read the way that this actually, like, this conversation goes, because I feel like this is laying a little bit of a clue, and I'm not sure if I'm reading into this too much. But she says, "Are you sure it's safe?" And he says, "There were some issues. They've been resolved. I'm confident I'm in no serious danger." And she says, "That's comforting, Richard, but it wasn't just you I was talking about." And he says, "Your concern is touching." And she says, "The people in that room will represent billions of pounds worth of potential investment. And Mr. Saxon wants to be sure they like what they see." And he says, "Don't worry, our friend will get his money's worth." And Mr. Saxon is the guy talking later to Martha's mom, right?
No, that guy was talking about he works for Saxon.
Okay. Yeah, that guy, the actor who plays him, which I don't know the character name, but he was in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and he played Jonathan Strange.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I saw his face, I was just like, what do I know him from? Because whatever it was, I loved him. And then I remembered, and I was like, oh shit, I have to keep my guard up, because the actor is making me predisposed to liking whoever this character is, and that is probably not how I should be reacting. I think of him as what's the name of the guy from Ant-Man and Clueless that hasn't aged at all?
Paul Rudd?
Yeah, I think of him as British Paul Rudd.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm very curious about what the deal is with him. Mr. Saxon is, like, concerning me. I don't know what this guy is. I don't know, like, what's up? What's up?
We've heard about him, once before?
Have we?
I think so. I think after when they were taken to the moon, when the Doctor and Martha first meet, when they get back, I believe there was something to do with Torchwood or Unit, and Saxon was mentioned.
Okay.
But it was like in passing, so it was easily missed. I need to see who this guy is that you're talking about, because I have to be honest, I didn't pay that much attention to him.
Your loss, ma'am. Your loss. I love him.
Not her brother.
He's got kind of bad teeth, but I can look past that. It's fine.
I'm also trying to see if he even had a character name.
Yeah, that's true, because I wasn't watching this on my computer, so I couldn't tell. But,
he's listed as Mysterious Man.
Excellent. I love it. And this is the first moment that we see him, and him being Lazarus, be real creepy. Because Martha's sister, Tish, is bringing in some file and puts it down. And he, like, puts his hand over hers and leers at her and is like, whoa, that's an interesting
sniffs
perfume.
her. Yeah. It's gross.
Sort of shifts his dentures around in his mouth. It's really like, and she just says, soap, and pulls her hand away and walks away. And I'm like, old guys hitting on you is the weirdest. You're just like, are you aware of what I am and what you are, sir? Mm-hmm. This is not a thing that you should even be attempting. Stop it.
Yeah, I had an old Russian gangster who would hang out at the coffee shop I worked at in LA ask me if it hurt me when I fell from heaven, and I just laughed at him.
Lord.
And he then asked me if I was Russian. Because he said I looked like a Russian girl, and I was like, actually, I am. So
I'm rushing to get out of this conversation.
He was honestly very sweet otherwise, but I was like, oh, don't do that.
So what was it? Oh, I was talking about when I worked at Goodspeed, there was a guy who was in the band for the musical, because there was an on-stage band in this musical. And he would flirt, but he was pretty like restrained about it, but it was clear that he did mean it. He just wasn't serious about it. Mm-hmm. And then we had a party and he got way too drunk, and he really went for it and like tried to get me to come back with him to his apartment and everything. And I was 18 at the time, I think, maybe 19. And he had to be at least 65. Ugh. And I just, I worked with him and I was very careful, and I was just like, you need to go home and you need to sober up. Okay, John? And in the morning, when I came into work, he was so embarrassed, and he came up to me and was like, I am really, really sorry. I have no excuse for how, and I was like, it was pretty bad, but it's okay. And I appreciate the apology. Like, I really did too. But yeah, there is just like, guy, I don't know what you think is going on here, but it's not. Just not.
Yeah. I'm glad that my dad's not that way, but he has this she's not a new doctor now, but a few years ago he got this new doctor, and he was just going on and on about her, and he's like, she's so pretty and she's so smart and she's such a good doctor, and she's like, this is her first practice. And I was like, how old is she? And he's like, well, she's in her 30s. And I was like, Dad? And he's like, I know, I'm not gonna act on it, she's married, I just think she's adorable. And I was like, okay.
Yep. And I mean, I'm sure I'll have that kind of moment when I get much older, of looking at a dude and being like, whew. But, I won't put my hand over his and sniff him.
Right.
And then wiggle my dentures around in my mouth. Like, hey, you know these come out, right? Yeah.
I'm betting that Mark Gatiss was really excited to do that denture gag.
Oh, yeah,
he
right?
probably came up with it. Because that's the kind of scenery chewing that these types of actors love to just lean
Prop
into.
chewing.
Yeah. Literally chewing.
So then we have Martha and the doctor showing up to the PR event. The doctor was not actually invited. And when Martha's like, oh, he's my +1, it's pretty clear that she was not like supposed to have a +1, but she just brought him. And there's an obvious like low-level rivalry going on between her and her sister. It's not like they're like at each other's throats, but there's a competitiveness and a feeling of like you always try and ruin things. Her sister's like mad at her later for it.
I get the feeling
trying to
that
outdo one another.
Yeah, I get the feeling that Martha, going to medical school, and she's maybe the older of the two. She might even be the oldest child. That her sister has that sort of younger sibling thing where mom's always talking about what you've done. It's a Marcia thing. It's Martha. And so she feels competitive with her when Martha clearly doesn't. And maybe she's also never had like an impressive job.
Yeah, I mean, Martha's pretty dismissive in this moment of her sister's job and tries to be like, oh, she's in the PR department. Like, when her sister's like, oh, I work for so-and-so. She says that in a way as to like sort of take her down a peg. Like, oh, you're really trying to make yourself sound like you're important.
Right.
But I know what you really do. And then when her sister's like, I'm the head of the PR department, actually, I put this all together. And Martha doesn't even have the grace to be like, oh, good for you. She's just like, what? No way. And I'm like, how about you just act like you've got some faith in her for a second? It's not hard. Just go ahead and like be happy for her. But yeah.
It's interesting, Martha having siblings, because Rose didn't. Mm-hmm. And that's our only other experience to this point of a companion to compare things to her. Rose just had to navigate her mom. Mm-hmm. And Martha's got all this other stuff with like a younger brother, dad with a young new girlfriend, mom who has her own sort of suspicions and issues and whatever, and then her sister. I just kind of like that we get more of her family. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And while her mom does question like, who is this guy and what are you doing with him?
Yes.
It's not a lot of Martha like avoiding her family. She just brings him right to the thing that she knew her family was going to be at.
Yeah, that's true. Her mother has a pretty strong reaction to the doctor right out of the gate. Like later on, she's being told some shit by some shady character. Yeah. But even before that, there's a real like motherly instinct that something about this guy is off. Something about him is setting off the alarm bells and makes me think that my daughter is in danger. And, she's like 100% right about all of that.
Yeah, and it's really not based on anything because it's not like, he didn't mess up bringing Martha back when he said he would. He brought her back 12 hours later. So it's not like Martha disappeared like Rose did and then shows up a year later with this strange man.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been one night.
She's got that instinct, baby.
Yeah.
That moms have.
Some moms.
Yeah, it's true. Not all moms. But my mom definitely did. She had a finely tuned douchebag radar.
I was going to say bullshit detector.
Yeah. I've got douche-ray vision is, I think, the way that I've heard it phrased. So this dude comes out and makes his announcement about how this is the biggest thing since Armstrong stepped on the moon, or we split the atom, blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow you will wake up to a world that has been changed forever. And he steps into this chamber, and things don't go smoothly here. It actually looks like it may blow, and the doctor has to step in to keep it from actually, like, hurting people around them.
Yeah. In hindsight, maybe he should have just let it blow up. Like, get everybody out.
I mean, I was going to say, yeah, you gotta, I don't know if you can pause it and get everybody out and then let it blow. Like, I don't know how fast that happens. If you could have, then yes.
But instead he let a monster be created.
It's like, and the way this whole thing it's saying like system overload. And it's such a dramatic, like the smoke coming up from the machines and everything. And I just have to wonder what tests this guy did that this didn't happen and why it's happening now. It doesn't feel like he could have done this before.
He obviously had not tested it on a person before.
So what are you doing just getting in there, you psychopath?
Well, arrogance.
I mean, this is like the guy in Ant-Man just trying to shoot a sheep with a ray, and then it just turns into a snot. A bloody snot that he flushes down the toilet.
In Ant-Man?
Yeah, remember that?
No.
He's trying to replicate the minimizing, like, ray.
Oh, the Blackjack or whatever, Jack Hornet. What is this? What is his name?
I have no idea. You just sound like you were having a stroke.
His Yellow Jacket. I was trying to think of that bee.
Oh, yeah, Jack. Blackjack.
I was trying to avoid just calling him by the actor's name. I was trying to actually remember that character. Sorry.
And that's how he gets rid of somebody who's like not willing to support him on the coup that he's organizing. He shoots the guy with the ray, and the guy turns into a tiny bloody lump on the floor, and he scoops the guy up on a piece of tissue and flushes the tissue down the toilet. Do you not remember that? It's brutal.
I kind of do. I've watched that movie a few times, but I seem to zone out when it has anything to do with that guy, and I just want the Paul Rudd stuff, especially the fight with the train. It's my favorite thing.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, that is one messed up looking dog. Okay, so he comes out with his fucking Justin Bieber hair and his stroking his own face in the creepiest possible way. He's still in his tux, and he's saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am Richard Lazarus. I am 76 years old, and I am reborn." And everybody is like stunned and clapping, and the doctor is just staring at him like, what the fuck did I just watch happen? And meanwhile, Lady Thaw is like, "Oh, he actually did it." And I'm like, I just don't understand y'all throwing a whole soiree when you don't even know if this shit's going to work or not. You never tried this on a person before. This is, I feel like Martha's sister is maybe not awesome at her job. She should have maybe said, it's too early to have a big PR stump. Let's wait until we've got a little bit more information. How about we actually, make sure this thing works before drawing the public's attention to it and having a press conference about it. But here we are.
Doing what she's told.
So yeah, I really enjoy the doctors. Like, always in scenes like this, everybody is celebrating, and he's the one that's just like, I don't like this. Don't like any of this. And he's wandering around getting his photo taken with his arms around all of these buxom beauties.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just have to alert you that I have sent you a picture of Mark Gatiss in that wig from the other show he's in where he wears it.
Oh, God. What is happening? This wig, at least they toned it down. As the picture that Jamie just sent me. Are you going to make that the picture for the friggin' group this week?
I can.
Because that is really, that is a look. That is a choice. What is going on with that thing in his hand? Is that a syringe?
I think so. I don't know what
I don't
this
want a
show
man
is.
with hair like that coming anywhere near me with a fucking syringe, all right?
I need to look up what this show is.
Chartreuse does not work on him.
It really
that's
doesn't
a bad
work on
color.
most people.
Oh, I hate it. Okay. Yeah, I'm very sad now. So yeah, he's and of course, as soon as he's got his photo ops with all these ladies and whatnot, and Lady Thaw comes up to him and is just like, "This is the most astonishing thing I've ever seen," yada yada. I'm like, oh, you're not going to like what happens, because he is about to drop you like a hot potato. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I was supposed to be able to use the machine too. And part of me was just like, well, then just go do it. he's not going to be here all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to go home sometime. Just fucking get up and get in early and get your coffee and go get in.
Get in now. What's he going to stop you?
Or now, yeah. But I guess it's just meant to be like that she is being spared this fate. But, like, even though she would have totally jumped headfirst into it the way that he did. It's not like she's above having that sort of hubris. But she's not as terrible as him. So she is spared by the show.
Well, we don't know if she is or isn't when it comes down to it.
That's true. I feel like she isn't because of the way she was like, oh, I see that this thing made you more cruel. But then he says, no, I learned that from you. I learned it from watching you, Mom. So I don't really know what the truth is because I don't trust his point of view either. And I certainly don't trust that Justin Bieber hair. So he grabs a tray from a waiter that's walking by, covered in hors d'oeuvres, and just starts to stuff his face.
Yeah.
And can I just say, hors d'oeuvres and appetizers really should be the only food we ever eat. They are better than anything else.
I think
they are more packed with flavor. They are just the smaller little bites that are just like more organized and easy to eat.
Is that why tapas restaurants work so well?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just think that we want variety, and I love appetizer plates, guys. Let's get some potato skins. Let's get some mozzarella sticks. I want a couple of chicken wings, maybe some fried mushrooms or pickles or something. And pickles. I will count how many fried mozzarella sticks there are. And if you take more than your fair share, I will look at you for a long time and just let you know that I am aware that you overstepped on those mozzarella sticks because I don't play. So
I haven't had mozzarella sticks in a really long time.
Why not? Jamie, you're a vegetarian. If I were a vegetarian, I would literally eat nothing but mozzarella sticks. I would substitute mozzarella sticks for every meat in any recipe, and it would just be like such a nightmare.
Yeah, no, that's too much cheese, and I love cheese. Yeah. That's too much too often.
I would get like mozzarella patties and deep fry them and use them instead of hamburger patties.
When Jason was in the Dominican Republic, he sent me a picture of this thing he was eating, and it was kind of like a burger, but it was like a portobello mushroom, but what would have been the bread was buffalo mozzarella. And I was like, is your burger a mozzarella bread burger? And he's like, yes.
What?
Instead of there being bread, they took like a mozzarella ball and cut it like bun shaped. And so everything was stacked on that as if that was the bread. No.
Why? No. You use the mushroom as the bread, you psychopath. It's a texture thing. What is wrong with everybody? Oh, this is like those burgers I saw where they were using avocados as the bun.
No. Because it was like a fancier place, so you didn't pick it up. He still had to like cut into it.
Oh, okay. It's not a burger if you're cutting into it. What are you, George Costanza? Get the hell out of here. Oh, guys, look up these burgers with avocado halves.
Yeah, no, that's a mess. You can't hold avocado like that. It's squishy.
I would love to just watch one video of somebody trying to eat that shit. It would just be a horror show.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? No. The portobello, I thought you were going to say that was the bread and that there was like a piece of fried cheese between the portobello mushroom, and that would be amazing.
That would be amazing. I'm going to find the picture and I'm going to forward it to you. Keep talking about the show.
Okay.
I promise to pay attention while I'm doing this.
I just when Owen and I went on vacation, one of the best meals we had was I made the biggest, most elaborate cheese plate, like charcuterie plate, basically. And I made other good food, and we had ribs and grilled chicken, like skewers that had been marinated for like 3 days, and it was awesome. But nothing quite does it for me like a cheese plate and a variety of cured meats and some fresh fruits and maybe some savory jams or things like that and a couple glasses of wine. I don't really need anything else for a meal. So yeah, watching him just like eat the hell out of this hors d'oeuvre tray, I kind of felt a bit of a kindred with him for a moment. Oh, you sent me another thing. Hold on, let me look.
There was no mushroom. I was wrong. I was misremembering.
What was it then? Oh, you sent it. Okay, that's via text.
I sent you a text, yeah.
This is a disaster, Jamie. Look at this thing. What are you even talking about? That's not even... Did they call it a burger on the menu? Did these assholes have the audacity?
I don't think so. I think I called it a burger.
Jamie, the audacity of you.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Forgive me.
I'm not saying that this doesn't look delicious, because it's obviously like some really serious pesto and fresh mozz that looks like they may have made it there. And that looks awesome. Though. No.
I represented the food incorrectly. My God.
This is serious business. I take food very, very seriously. I don't joke around about it. This is not a subject for lightheartedness in my mind. You don't... I
have been officially chastened. I will sit over here and try not to cry.
So the doctor comes over and basically is like, oh yeah, well, so I see that you did this, this, and that. It doesn't feel like this is going to work out for you, though. You've got an energy deficit, obviously, by the way that you're eating.
Didn't think of all the variables.
Yeah, and I'm like, why wouldn't you think of all the variables? What are you doing, dude? How did he qualify for like any sort of research grant with his sloppiness? And meanwhile, Lady Thaw says you're not qualified to comment. And I'm like, bitch, how do you know? You don't know shit? What are you talking about? This man just took a tray from a waiter. Obviously, there's something going on here, lady. But, yeah. She says the device will be properly certified before we start to operate commercially. To which Martha is just like, are you kidding me? Commercially? And she says that will cause chaos, which I found to be an interesting turn of phrase for this. Does she just mean de-aging a bunch of people is just going to throw the world into a tumult? Or is it like, what do you think because I'm assuming commercially, this is going to be like a $3 million ticket. I don't feel like everybody is going to be able to sign up and walk in off the street and just like de-age themselves. Right? This is going to be super exclusive.
It's only going to be the super rich that can do it because it's expensive to do.
And superstars who are bankrolled by industries who want to keep Paul Rudd for another 50 years looking exactly the same.
Look, it's not going to be happening with Paul Rudd. They're going to just try to make all the older actresses hot again. They'll be like, Helen Mirren, you were a beautiful woman when you were younger, and you're still attractive, but you're 67. So how about you step in here?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what they'll do? They'll probably try and parse Paul Rudd's blood to figure out what it is about him that makes him, not age.
And Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, right. Although Keanu Reeves is finally starting to show it, but it has taken a while.
He's still in his 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And does not look like he's in his 50s.
I would not agree with that at this point.
Really? I haven't seen the most recent John Wick, but...
yeah, well, and maybe they had him just looking more haggard in that because he's been through some shit. But, I think I think he starts to show it there more.
Paul Rudd is also, definitely, not aging.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that happens.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just not nice. It's not nice at all.
There was this BuzzFeed quiz where it was if you could try to guess, which two pictures he was older or younger in. Which one is Paul Rudd older? And sometimes I'm looking at him, I'm like, what? The same? I don't know. Obviously he must be younger in one of them, but he doesn't look older. It was an impossible quiz to take.
I want to check that quiz out. I mean, I'm guessing that they managed to, obscure any, context clues, like the fact that he was wearing hammer pants or something, right?
Yeah, it was all, basically just his face. It's usually on red carpets or whatever, so it could be at any point in his career. But while there is a difference between Paul Rudd now and Paul Rudd in Clueless, that difference is very minor.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It really is, though. Guys, go watch.
Yeah.
So what is it that Martha tells the doctor? Because he wants to know, she says, what do we do now? And he says, this building must be full of laboratories. I say we do our own tests. And she holds up her hand. Oh, lucky I've just collected a DNA sample then, isn't it? That's right, because she held his hand. She shook his hand.
He kissed her hand.
Oh, right, because he's a creep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you get. Wouldn't that be amazing if that's how, like, because, you know, the police, they'll bring you in and be like, hey, would you like a soda, a glass of water, whatever, and that's part of how they collect, like, prints.
Mm-hmm.
What if they were like, will you please kiss my hand? Just like acting like total creeps. I swear I'd let you out of here. What is this? Am I on camera? What's happening?
Can I sue you for sexually harassing me while I'm getting here, like, arrested for nothing?
So there's a conversation between Lorenzo. What's his name? Lazarus. That's the one. And he's talking to Lady Thaw about the Empire. And she kisses him, and he pulls away and is just like, girl, no, you too old.
He's
this is no good anymore.
Totally grossed out.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate him. I hate him so much.
They're talking about his childhood during World War II. He lived right over there above a butcher shop, and during the Blitz, we had to huddle in this place, and she's like, oh, my parents had already sent me to the country by then. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to not really do the math, but kind of do the math. If he was supposed to be like 76 years old, and this is 2007, he would have been really young. No, I guess he would have been like 10 or so. Still not doing the math because I don't care that much. I was just trying to think, like, how much of that would you remember at, you know, how young were you during World War II?
Do you think that he's the Are You My Mummy kid?
No.
That'd be pretty crazy.
That would be a twist, especially since Mark Gatiss wrote that episode, but did not write this one.
Mark Gatiss. What a weird name. So this is when the doctor is looking at the DNA and realizing that shit is twitching and shifting and changing and obviously not fucking stable. And as he's like rushing up to figure out what's going on with this guy, Lazarus is talking to Lady Thaw and telling her that she only cared about the money, that she wasn't in this for the... And I'm just like, dude, she's an old woman. Don't you think she cares about living forever? Are you high? He acts like, oh, the money was all you wanted, so you don't get like, his arguments are just nonsense. And as he is talking to her, he is starting to have these weird twitches. Like he's, at first it looks like he's going to yawn. Like that sudden yawn that comes over, or maybe even a sneeze. And then he gets like a side twitch of the mouth that reminds me of my own facial twitch that I have where that can happen. And then all of a sudden he just gets like thrown to the ground and he's like, this moment, I swear to God, I was laughing so hard. Like he is acting, he has turned it up to like 24. It's not even 11. It's a real silent film moment of him like becoming Dr. Hyde, you know, or Mr. Hyde. And she doesn't know what is happening. And it's like, what should I even do? Is this a seizure? And then these spines break right through the back of his tux. And he gets up and he's like this weird sort of scorpion monster. Mm-hmm. And he attacks her. But later, his suit is fine. Even though he just ripped out of it like the Hulk.
Maybe it's a different suit.
And then later, when he transforms back into himself, he's naked. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why it happened. Like, it was fine the one time, but then when he turned back into himself the first time, he had the suit still?
It probably is a different suit. He's surely one of those people who has extra clothes at work.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that he could just step into that machine with the suit on. Like, you would think that he'd have had to be like... I'm thinking of... Did you watch The Leftovers?
Yes.
You know that spoilers, guys, for The Leftovers is really good. You should watch it. That machine that she goes into.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and there's like this whole process, like she's not supposed to eat, but it's basically like going in for surgery. Mm-hmm. And she can't have any like implants or metal on her or all this kind of stuff. But he didn't just walk up in there with his suit on.
No, he went in there like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
I have never seen The Fly.
Ooh, you should see The Fly. I'm not sure how well it holds up, but
gross.
That movie is so weird. I really loved it when I was younger.
I don't like body horror. It fucks with me so bad.
It's definitely body horror, but the likelihood of you turning into a half fly, half human is slim.
That's not the problem. I'm not concerned it's going to happen to me, Jamie. That's not what it is. So yeah, we find out later, just like sucked all of the life out of her. And that feels accurate. And then we go back to Martha's family. And her mother is like, where the fuck is Martha? I don't like this dude she's with. She ran off with him. She disappeared the other night as well. And when we asked them what they were doing, he just said stuff. Stuff, Lori. Things.
Fucking show.
Sorry. Guys, Walking Dead is just
so bad.
It's so bad. God, I've had a couple people like hit me up when I've been like, who watches it anymore? And they're like, I still watch it and I like it. And I'm like, I don't believe you. I need documented evidence.
I still watch it, but I accidentally deleted an episode before we had seen it recently. And I was like, oh shit. Well, and I just deleted the rest of them.
It just sent you spiraling. You just
like,
needed the one nudge.
I guess that's it.
Yep. I can't believe it's still on.
Yeah.
What else is there to say?
Nothing.
Well,
everybody's stupid.
A lot of people do bad stuff when there's no society.
When they're making good characters do stupid things, I can't anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm not in like a rush to. I'll catch up when it's on Netflix or something, but I'm not. It's a legitimate hate watch at this point. I'm just like, ugh, why am I still watching this? It's terrible.
Yeah, Owen kind of wanted to keep doing it as a hate watch, but I just don't find it fun when it's something that takes itself so seriously.
Yeah. It's not fun to hate watch it. It's a chore. And so when I deleted an episode by accident, I was like, you know what? Fine.
Thanks for saving me that work.
Yeah.
So yeah, her mother, and I mean, her mom is wearing this fucking gold dress. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I have to say, everybody is dressed up so much better than Martha. She's got this like headband on with her dress, and like, it's not like it doesn't look good, but it's not for a formal event and not with a dress. It just looks it looks like she's about to, from the neck up, like she's gonna go to a bar or something. But then the rest of her is like, in this gown. And I was just like, this whole thing, this look does not work. Her sister's wearing a fascinator in her hair. I mean, come on. These people are bringing it. What are you doing, Martha? I love, too, the background that there are all of these women looking at Lazarus with like this, they're touching their hair and smiling at him, and I'm like, ladies, no, he's not fine.
It's not like he stepped out of there and he was like John Hamm or something.
Yeah, maybe it's supposed to be like, oh, well, he's rich and intelligent, so he's at least passable as an option now.
Yeah, well, now he's not an old man and he's done this crazy thing and it's probably going to make even more money. So yeah, like power entices people.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, it's not like he popped out of there and he was suddenly hot. Yeah,
no. Like, I'm not saying that Mycroft Holmes, what's his name?
Mark Gatiss.
That's the one. I'm not saying he's not an attractive dude, but he isn't done any favors in this episode as to how he looks. Like, they just didn't, the wig in the first place.
Yeah, I think that he purposefully wanted to keep it absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ladies, come on. All right. So the doctor and Martha get to his office and they find the lady all like a husk dried out on the floor. And then they try and find him and realize that he has run off with Tish. And he is taking her to the roof, allegedly, to show her the view. And the doctor, like, he does this thing, too, that's so unnecessary. When they tell him, oh, he took her to the roof, he, like, shoves Martha's mom aside in this way that's so aggressive and totally unnecessary. Go step one pace to your left, dude. And you've got all this room. No wonder she doesn't like you. You're just rude. But yeah, he like shoves her and heads for the elevator, and she wants her daughter to stay behind and is getting very irritated that she doesn't seem to be taking her gut feeling seriously. And this is when mysterious man comes walking up. And he tells her, do you know that man? He is, perhaps she should choose her friends more carefully. Mm-hmm. And leaves it at that and just walks away and plants that seed of doubt in her mind. So that was pretty well done. There was some, I don't remember what it was, if it was a stand-up comedian, but like just saying a thing and then walking away and leaving somebody to like wrestle over what you just said to them. There was some comedian who was like, when I go to airports, I like to just walk up to people and look them in the eye and then say, don't get on the plane. And walk away.
That's terrible.
Oh, God, it is terrible, but it is so funny. Oh, Lord of mercy. So yeah, that's how I feel like this guy is doing. Like, I would love it if it turned out that this guy didn't know who the doctor was. He didn't have any vested interest in anything. He was just a fucking shit stirrer. He just liked to cause trouble.
He's like a troll in real life.
Exactly. Because there are people like that, you know? Mm-hmm. They don't get involved in the drama, but they just like plant the little seed there, and then they sit back and watch the show unfold before them. Mm-hmm. And I've known many a person like that, actually. They're the really scary ones, because they know precisely what they're doing, and nobody mm-hmm. else like picks up on it until it's far too late, if they ever do at all. Yeah.
Usually it has to happen to the same people a number of times so they can start putting the pieces together. Mm-hmm. But people who are shit stirrers like that, outside of like Johnny Bananas on Real World Road Rules Challenge, or The Challenge as it's now called.
What? What did you just say?
Okay. The Challenge is one of the best shows ever. It's on MTV. It's just a competition show, and they take people from the real world and what used to be Road Rules. It doesn't exist anymore, and it's like a competition show, and they, win $1 million or whatever at the end. But there's this one guy, and he is a complete shit stirrer. And it took a long time for them to start realizing it's him. He's causing all of this. Because he would do it so expertly. Just like this, just plant seeds at people, and then they would run with it, and he would just sit back and find it hilarious.
Man, what do they compete? Like, how do they compete? What do they do?
Oh, like physical challenges.
Oh, okay. So we're doing a Double Dare situation.
It's kind of like Double Dare, but like on steroids. It's like Fear Factor, but even scarier. Not so much like laying around with snakes or whatever Fear Factor did, but
eating pig noses.
Sometimes there is that. Usually in the final challenges, they'll have to eat something disgusting, but it's just a lot of like really crazy physical challenges that you like look at it and you're like, how did they even fucking come up with this thing? It's insane, and it's so fun to watch. It's like one of my favorite reality shows, and I keep telling my boyfriend, like, can you just work on the challenge? That just seems so fun. Bunch of morons drinking a lot and
Jamie's boyfriend works in television, for those who don't. Because when you just say, can you just work on the challenge? It's like, without context, do you want him to join this and try to win?
My boyfriend is a camera operator, and he does a lot of reality TV.
He used to be on Road Rules, so he's eligible.
He actually would have loved doing stuff like that. He's done a few MTV shows, but just not that one.
I can't imagine being on a show like that. I would lose my mind.
As a competitor or just working on it?
As a competitor. Like, I just think about, you know, the scrutiny that you're under all the time, and it's just so much pressure and so much judgment coming from the world. Like,
what about something like Top Chef?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Absolutely fucking not. That kind of pressure, and I guarantee you I would make the most embarrassing, humiliating mistake that was so obvious. Like, I'd try and make pasta and forget water, you know, and I would just be that person that you would make memes of forever after. Like, I don't cope well with that kind of thing.
I don't either. Like, we watch MasterChef, and I'll watch them have a certain amount of time to make something, and I'm like, I would cave under the time constraint. Mm-hmm. Like, just doing a chopped challenge in pastry school, I was like, I don't like being limited to how fast I need to do this.
Yeah.
It's too much pressure.
Yeah, that was actually, because when I was in school, they gave us so much time. And it was really a culture shock when we went out into the field and had to do work, and we didn't get given this nice, cushy, like, time frame to complete things in. They wanted it done now because it's a fucking business.
I had 1 week to make my final cake. My, like,
oh my
big,
God.
I think it was 4 days, but it was, you know, my wedding cake that I had to make. I had 4 days, which was a lot of time.
Yep.
I can't imagine, like, having to do that as a job, and you're like, okay, so we've got 15 cakes that need to be made this week. Mm-hmm. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So especially like, yeah, no. So he has his screwdriver, and he says that the fluctuating DNA will set off an energy signature. And he tracks him to the top floor. But I thought that her mother had already said he took her to the roof. Why didn't they just go to the roof like Mom said? That's what made you shove past her. But then you just didn't even listen to her in the end.
I think she just said that that Tish, he's gone off with Tish. I don't think that she knew he was taking her to the roof.
I thought she said the roof specifically, but okay. And he's, you know, looking out at this, and it's obvious at this point that Tish is slightly more receptive to him in this state than he had been. Mm-hmm. And he is like just about to, I'm sorry guys, I'm watching this moment where she gets interrupted by the doctor and Martha showing up, and Martha is telling her he's a monster. And Tish says, I know the age thing's a bit freaky, but it works for Catherine Zeta-Jones. And in the background, for a moment, he looks like he's doing the funky chicken for just a second before he just collapses backward. And it is really a sight to see. I can't, they must have gotten so silly on this set. Like, I just can't imagine. I'm rewinding it. I want to watch that moment again. Because, yeah, he's like, who are you to judge me? The whole thing before he fucking like, yep, funky oh my God, what on earth?
It's really too bad that I can't make the page banner a GIF so that I could just GIF that.
You know what? I'll take a screenshot of it right now. You don't even need the GIF. You just need him in the background in that moment. So allow me, please.
Okay.
And everybody, say thank you to me later, because you will be grateful.
I didn't change the cover photo for this recent episode because there was absolutely nothing in those 2 episodes that sparked any interest for me to screen cap.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Because
I try to change it every episode, and because we had a break for like 3 weeks, it was Hey Nani Nani, which I made a banner that just said Hey Nani Nani on it.
Hey,
I guess I could have
I
could have screen capped cute little Andrew Garfield's face, but I didn't. So I'll have a new one for this episode for sure, especially if you're making the funky chicken.
All right, I just sent you the screen cap. I'm not sure if it's as good as a
It's
GIF would
as
be.
good as
but
head thrown back.
like and his arms are up in this way.
Oh yeah,
It's like, yeah.
maybe I'll try to make like multiple ones and have like a collage of it.
Oh my god. Okay. Yes. Hold on. Let me take another one. Yeah, I'll do that for you. This is good. I like where this is all going. We're really coming up with a way around this system here.
Because I found a site where you can like stitch pictures together. Because I was trying to. Rashawn was talking about Deadwood and how many people are like notable people are in that show that she'd forgotten about. And Ryan was like sharing pictures of the actors in Deadwood and then in something else that they were in. And so I put a picture of Timothy Olyphant from Deadwood next to Timothy Olyphant from Justified and said, yeah, he's such a chameleon.
That's rude, ma'am. Have you seen a Santa Clarita Diet?
I have. He's very funny in that. I say it with love because I love him so much that he played two characters that are fairly similar.
Fairly. Yeah, no. It's the same show practically. The whole fucking same cast is even there.
Yeah.
All right, so I got one of right before where he looks like he's going to sneeze, and I just sent that. And then one right after where he begins to collapse to the ground. So, that should be good. Yep, I feel like that's really the most important part of this episode that we should all focus on. So, he stands up and he's a weird insect monster. Very large. Like, he's really grown since the last time he turned into this thing, I feel like. And he's got his own face still.
Yeah, can you screen cap that too?
God, okay, hold on. Oh, it's really, guys.
I thought that was the funniest part of the episode until you screen capped this thing. Can't stop laughing. And I kind of love that they just let him keep his own face on this weird monster.
It's so jarring. Like, you know, and the thing that kind of bothers me is that it doesn't look like him at all, really. It just looks like a humanoid face. But it doesn't look like him. There's nothing, you know, it's not like, for example, when they have, what's his face playing the Hulk, and you can clearly see him within the Hulk still, you know?
I think the technology has gotten better, but also...
I am aware, Jamie.
Money is a factor where they probably didn't have a lot of budget for that on this.
I just sent you the monster with the face and also the monster menacing our friends. So, enjoy that.
You're right. It doesn't look as much like him as it could. It also, the second one looks so incredibly fake. Like, the whole thing just looks so green screened. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just crazy looking. And he has, like, exposed intestines and everything.
Yeah. It's pretty gross.
So they run away, and, you know, I'm over here feeling like, well, they've probably got an advantage because he is not going to fit in the stairwell or the elevator or whatever. But he starts, like, pounding on the wall so hard that he starts to short-circuit the electricity for, like, the entire building. I'm guessing everybody probably thought that there was an earthquake or something going on. But yeah, he's just trying to straight up bust through. And I guess believes that, like, if he is big enough, nobody can stop him and that he can just, like, dominate the earth. And this is progress forward. And everyone else will see that and definitely want to also get into this thing and turn into this.
Why do all these people think when they turn into a monster that now... everybody's going to want to be like this too, and all people are going to turn into crazy scorpion monsters, and we're going to rule the earth?
I don't know why they think that, Jamie.
every time somebody tries to take over the Earth, it's because they're trying to transform humans into something else that's going to take over the Earth.
It just really, like, setting aside eating people in order to sustain your energy, it's a really, I would imagine, huge culture shock to suddenly be an insect and also be too big for an elevator. I feel like he's acting like he's adjusting really well. But give him like a couple days and he would just be like, he would not know what to do.
He's going to have an existential crisis. What am I?
Right?
What is my purpose?
Oh my God. I just got to the part where his jaw's open. This is the worst thing in the world. It's like the Predator. All right. I'm sending you that one too so that you can fucking do what you will with it.
Great.
Nightmare fuel. And he eats one of the party-going women. He, like, opens his jaws like he's gonna just, like, eat her that way. But then he backs up and closes his jaw, and his tail opens. And it's sort of like, we don't actually see it, but it's implied that he sort of, like, inserts a syringe into her and drains her that way. Sort of like whatever's in his tail is like a... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A siphon, I guess.
Like a syringe.
Yeah. A turkey baster, maybe, would be more. Yeah, so this whole thing, I was like watching this and thinking to myself, normally these sorts of confrontations are at the end of an episode, but this has not been very long. And it turns out that we're going to just like kind of fight with this guy for the rest of the episode. I don't really think there is enough here to justify that. I don't know what they could have inserted before all of this happens to draw at the beginning of the episode before we have this confrontation. But having the Doctor and Martha get like cornered in the little cubicle and he like reverses the energy or the polarity or whatever it was he said. And then Lazarus turns back into himself. But then Lazarus escapes the EMTs and runs off and begins to like transform yet again in the church. We don't need it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's sort of a weird direction to go with things because they keep talking about his time during the Blitz. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's supposed to just be something hinting at a thing that is revealed later, or if I'm really supposed to give a shit about his time during the Blitz, but spoiler alert, I don't care about this man.
Same.
So this whole like sort of quieter, softer moment of him in the church reflecting was very much lost on me. Like, you just try to eat them. And I feel like the show wanted me to have some sympathy for him or something. And it just seemed like a really weird direction to go. You know?
Yeah.
Do you think that was what they intended, for us to have sympathy?
I think so, a little bit. But it's hard to have sympathy for him when he has this moment of, like, reflection and then he turns back into a monster, right?
Immediately. Yeah.
So it's like, well, what... When he's a monster, he's not acting sympathetically. He's not, he's not like, I don't know what to do. I'm acting on instinct. There's nothing. It's just like, okay, well, now I'm going to kill. Right.
And there's not anything that we saw in him before that would lend sympathy either.
Right.
He's a bad, shitty dude who was real creepy to women and super arrogant and was going to steal from this woman that he had been partnered with no remorse whatsoever. So it's just a strange direction to go, the whole thing.
Just because you lived through World War II as a child doesn't mean you get a pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. At first, when I saw that he had escaped and that we were going to keep on doing this, I wasn't like, oh, really? Come on. I was like, oh, all right, well, let's see what you got. But then they didn't really do anything with it that felt meaningful. It was just sort of like they just didn't really know what more they could do with him, so they had to double the amount of fight time that we had against this guy.
I guess they really wanted to have this, like, big showdown happen in the church with the church organ.
Yeah, I guess so.
But then make the transformation happen further down the line in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if they needed some more background on, I don't know, maybe the whole project or something, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways to do it that I would actually find interesting. But meanwhile, this whole thing, like, again, we have the doctor getting separated from Martha and her mother telling her that she needs to leave because Martha has figured out how to get the doors open. They had all, with the electricity going out, gotten stuck shut, and she has to go over the security desk and figure out how to open them again. And as they're opening, of course, her mother is expecting her to follow, and she isn't going to do that. And her mom is real mad. And it's just like, you don't, like, what are you doing? You don't know this guy.
Yeah.
You know, which, fair. And her mother later on even says she chose him over us. Which, that is a pretty brutal, like, I can understand being that upset over it. This is a dude she literally met yesterday, according to her mother's perception of things.
Right.
And she's about to just abandon her family to go help him with the fucking God knows what, you know?
But doesn't she go run off with her sister?
She goes by herself, and then her sister comes with her and stops for a second and says, "Sorry, Mom," and continues on. So she doesn't know her sister's coming and does it on her own at first. But it's just like her sister shows support at the last second. So, yeah, she would have gone either way. Yeah. I am really tired of people calling me and then hanging up immediately. That just happened again.
Calling on your phone or on Skype?
On my phone, and it rings in through my computer. And earlier that happened, and that, like, all of a sudden you and I got disconnected.
Yeah.
And it didn't, for one reason, I don't know why it didn't disconnect us this time. But it was definitely, like, incredibly loud and jarring. And I don't know why I didn't touch anything. They just hung up right away. And it's not like spammers, because the first call was from my mom. But she just, like, hung up immediately. So, I don't know. Sorry, guys. It's just, that doesn't usually happen. And it's just happened a couple times now. So, the doctor's, like, going to try and blow the place up. And turns on the gas in, like, the lab.
Yeah.
And it does not work. He just comes out again. He's impervious to fire, I guess? That's a serious blast.
Okay. I don't know. It's running fast? I don't know.
Oh, God. That's going to be a new meme in my head of every time that you try and explain something on this show. I'm just going to be like, #running fast. You know. It all works out.
There was a behind the scenes thing about that specifically too, because the way they were shooting it, they wanted him to do it himself, and he was saying, like, I know some actors like to do their own stunts, and, you know, maybe it feels like, you know, you're more your character if you're doing your own stunts, but I don't really do my own stunts, so it was a surprise when I saw that I was doing this on the call sheet, because I don't know how to do it. And so they, like, tested it to make sure it was safe and whatever, and then he had to, like, run with this fire blast behind him, jump onto a mat, and he just, I don't think he's not Tom Cruise. Like, he's not normally doing things like this, so maybe that's why it didn't look as good as you would expect.
It's not that doesn't look good.
Oh.
I mean, it looks pretty...
It's just,
that's
you think he
part
was
of
too
my
close?
Question. And my question is, like, he runs out of the room, and the fire blast behind him looks like pretty real. Like, it looks that if the scene had cut from there to somewhere else, I would have definitely assumed that the thing was dead. Because I thought that he did a good job.
Oh,
But instead, the next second, this thing is, like, crashing through the glass.
I thought you were asking if the
fine,
doctor
evidently
was impervious.
No,
Okay.
no.
I thought you were saying the doctor was impervious to fire. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because I'm like, I don't think. No, he just ran faster than fire. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe that creature is impervious to fire. We never get an explanation.
Yeah, you'd think,
and
that
he's
with
not
all that
like
wet, shiny skin, he would be not. But
he's not like an alien, you know? He's like something that was created because of all of this weird energy he put into this machine. So it's not like the doctor can have an explanation of like, oh, fire should kill it because of X, Y, and Z. It's just fire should kill it because fire kills things.
Right,
that didn't work.
All right, so I'm trying to see what we should talk about next here, because it's like the doctor getting locked in there, and I pretty much already like talked about all of this, and then him escaping. The whole scene at the church is weird because he's like naked and wrapped in a blanket and shivering and very pathetic looking. He's all sweaty. He's got a lot of chest hair also. And he is just, like I said, sort of feeling sorry for himself in this way that I'm just like, what exactly, why he says he came here because this is where they hid during the Blitz.
Yeah.
When he was a child. But you're the Blitz, my dude.
Yeah.
And you were very firm a second ago about how this is a good thing and progress. So you hiding here the way that you did when there was another crisis doesn't make sense, because you don't view this as a crisis, I thought, based on your words 2 minutes ago.
Once again, it's one of those things where it's almost like every scene is written by a different writer who didn't read the scene that was before it.
Yeah.
So he says one thing, and then in the very next scene, he's feeling the complete opposite or doing the complete opposite. This happens a lot, where it's like, did you not write everything out as one script, or were you guys writing things on the fly? It's really curious.
I already said I haven't seen it, okay? Get it? Writing things on the fly.
Like, at first, like, no, I did not. Like, what? I thought for a second I spoiled something, and so my brain just backtracked and was like, what did I say?
Oh, no. But yeah, you're right. It does feel like it feels like somebody wrote this first, and then they did the whole other thing, and then came back to it, and they were like, oh, no, he's supposed to be sad this happened, and everybody was like, well, we already filmed the other thing, so I guess, oh, well.
I think it's one of those things where they don't expect anybody to piece it apart in quite this way. So when we do this, we're finding these holes. We're like, well, why? But you just said the opposite. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't.
Well, that's the thing.
up.
Like, I would feel a lot more sympathy if it was just like, oh, he was wearing a red shirt in that scene, and now all of a sudden it's a blue shirt. But this is like dialogue. This guy is saying, there's a whole monologue that he basically has about it.
Right. So you wonder why the actor didn't say, like, wait, how come this contradicts what this character just said? I just made this speech in the previous scene. So how does this make sense? I don't know.
Well.
It's unfortunate. I hope that it sort of stops doing this, but I can't definitively say because I haven't rewatched everything like carefully yet.
So then he looks at the doctor and he says, I will feed soon. You haven't been able to stop me so far. And this is when Martha comes up and is like, he's old and bitter. I thought you were looking for fresher meat. And her sister sprint the fuck out of there in their dress shoes up the friggin' spiral staircase of this church, which looks awesome, by the way. I am so jealous of all of the ancient architecture in Europe. It makes me super mad.
I
want it. And she says something like he's changed again. Does she mean that his form changes again?
I think so.
Or just that he's changing into this thing another time?
I think it's just he's changed. Like, he's not the man anymore. He's the monster again.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what church this is supposed to be. Because this is really spectacular. Is it Westminster? Is it supposed to be Westminster Abbey?
I don't think it's supposed to be a specific... I don't know if they say what specific church it's supposed to be, but I can look up what church it was. It's in Cardiff.
Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous. So Martha, she's up there with her sister, and her sister says, so we're not a trap, we're bait. And Martha says, I promise the doctor knows what he's doing, and we have to trust him. And I'm like, but you didn't plan this ahead of time. You just lured this thing here, and you're hoping that he figures something out, right? Like, I guess that there's like the momentary plan of him talking about the pipe organ. So we don't get like specific, but he says something about like, well, we can use that. And she just takes that as, being enough of a plan. So I guess that makes sense. And he starts to play, and I don't really get what happened here.
What's your question? So
he's going after them with his tail. He just looks so much bigger every time than he did the last time. And Martha gets knocked off, and she's hanging on. And the doctor's playing the pipe organ. Mm-hmm. And he uses the screwdriver on it.
He amplifies it so that it's super, super loud.
Because he knows that he's going to be more susceptible to sound, or because it's just going to be painful for everybody?
I think he thinks the loud sound is going to affect him more.
Huh, okay. Because we basically, the church starts to shake, actually, which I guess is a result of him amping it up with his screwdriver. And he kind of falls, but I just wondered if there was something about like this creature that was supposed to be more sensitive somehow or something.
Nothing that's explained. It's not like the bat aliens that Giles was in.
Right.
But it's that same sort of concept.
The bat aliens. I forgot about how good those were. I loved that episode. What a weird one. So her sister, like, after he falls to the ground and is dead, hopefully actually dead this time, she asks Martha, who is he? And Martha just says, he's the doctor. And I'm like, girl, that ain't no answer, though. You got to answer the question. I was waiting for her sister to say Doctor Who, though, but she didn't.
Her mother, when Martha introduces him as the doctor, her mother says, Doctor what?
Ah. So her mother says the thing that I thought the lady said the first time that somebody said Doctor Who, and then I missed it.
Yes. The church, the exteriors were Southwark Castle, or Southwark Cathedral, which is the church it was supposed to be. So they used the outside of the actual cathedral, and the interiors are from Wells Cathedral in Wells, Somerset.
Okay. Interesting. Well, they're beautiful, and I want to go to there.
Yeah, same. I want to go all over England.
Yeah, I just did not do enough. So they get to the TARDIS finally, because it's time to say goodbye. Mm-hmm. And he asks whether she wants to take one more trip, expecting, of course, that she will. But she kind of draws a line in the sand here and is just like, no, I don't really want to do it this way. She's like, you're treating me like I'm just a passenger. Every time you take me, it's meant to be some sort of treat that this is the last one and then you go home. And I don't really like our relationship being this way. I want to be in or out. And he says, well, if that's what you want. And that's it. And she thinks that he means basically like, oh, if you're going to give me an ultimatum, then I guess you've decided not to come. And she starts to walk away and is like, well, I guess it's best if you just go. And he doesn't move. And she finally looks over his shoulder and is like, what? And he's like, what? okay. I said okay. And she's like, wait. Oh, shit. And then she runs up to him and says, thank you, and gives him a hug. Mm-hmm. And he says, you never really were just a passenger, were you? And I would agree with that assessment. But I am also still worried about Martha because she's clearly super into him. And he is definitely still not over Rose. And I just am worried that her little heart's going to get broken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. So.
And then the last thing is that her phone rings and her answer machine picks up and it's her mom asking or warning Martha about the doctor and that, she doesn't know who he is, but her mother has information that comes directly from Harold Saxon himself, that you're not safe.
Yes. Yep.
So
please trust me.
Here's the Saxon again.
Saxon. Yeah, God, this universe where there's still answering machines and you couldn't just text somebody. I guess you could text somebody though, because she was calling her mom on the cell. Did they have texting?
They had texting. I mean, if you think about 2007, yeah, Rose had early texting. It wasn't a thing. Like, we take it for granted now, but it wasn't until iPhones before texting really became a thing that everybody started doing. Like, you remember on old phones where you actually had to hit the button a number of times to get the letter you needed?
Oh, girl, yes, I was a pro at that. That's why I'm surprised, because I started texting seriously for everything around 2004. I'd say that I was
you
just
were an early adopter
on my phone.
Yeah.
Which I get, I didn't even have a decent phone. I was still using a fucking Razor flip phone at the time.
Yeah.
It was pink, though.
I had that one, too. I didn't start texting until I got my Razor, but I didn't get my Razor phone until probably 2006. And then you had to buy special plans, like extra data plan for texting or texting plans. It just wasn't a thing that everybody did.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So because it was so new, it hadn't been integrated into media quite like it is now. Because now everyone does it. And now I'd rather text than talk most of the time if I can avoid having a conversation.
Oh, almost always, yeah. Yeah, I mean, not for nothing, but phones have gotten so that they aren't good for phones anymore. Trying to talk on the phone, it's not awesome. I try and call my mom and stuff, and even with the headset, it's she misses things and I can't hear her. The sound is just not good a lot of the time.
Yeah, because it also depends on how close you are to a tower.
Yeah, her and I have dropped calls constantly. We at least drop twice during every hour-long conversation. And it's super
When
irritating.
I lived in LA, I had to actually sit on my front porch to have an extended conversation with anyone because if I was inside my house, my cell phone was not picking up the towers good enough for me to complete a call. So I'd have to go sit outside.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I just use Skype for everything because even though we dropped, it's not as many drops as I get on my phone.
So quick trivia, Mark Gatiss, he is one of 5 people who have both written for and acted on Doctor Who. I talked about his wig. And
Indeed.
The name Lazarus is a reference to the biblical man who was resurrected from the dead.
Right. A little bit on the nose with that, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah. The capsule that he did his transformation in is the descent capsule from the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. It was just redecorated.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then Mark Gatiss and David Tennant had previously appeared together in the Big Finish audio story Sympathy for the Devil. Also, if you're playing along with the Doctor Who bingo, you get another one on your bingo card if you have Tycho Nestoris on your card.
What's the Doctor Who bingo? How's that work?
I I think it was Jackie May Hensey who actually put everything together, and she made a list of actors who were either in Game of Thrones or Harry Potter and Doctor Who.
Nice.
So
That's
anybody from Harry Potter or Game of Thrones that appear on Doctor Who, we made these bingo cards. David Tennant is the free square in the middle, and as they pop up on the show, you mark off your bingo card. A lot of people have actually figured out how long it's going to take for them to get a bingo because they know the show and they know when these people show up. But they don't know when other people are going to get a bingo. So it's still, like some people are like, oh my God, it's going to be years before my card is complete, even in one line. I'm like, sorry, it was randomized. So it's the way it goes.
Well, maybe if you weren't a dirty cheater who tried to remember the future, you wouldn't have been so crestfallen. So take that as a lesson to never try and know the future.
But if whoever gets a bingo first, I'm going to send them a little prize package.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, and this is a Facebook group, right?
Yeah, it's in the Unspoiled Whovian group.
Which I am not in for obvious reasons, everyone.
Right. And unfortunately, new people can't join the bingo because we've been doing it since the beginning of season 2.
Oh, so they'd be having an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sucks to be you.
It also sucks to be us because we don't have any new reviews this week. So leave us some reviews, guys.
It's tragic. I can't believe this. What is happening? Everybody, come on. What are you doing?
I guess the last episode, maybe the newest episode just dropped recently, so maybe we'll get some feedback from that. But what was the one that was... Oh, the gridlock one. Maybe there's just nothing that was inspiring people to need right now to let us know how awesome we are.
Yeah, I mean, I would understand it if you guys are also just kind of like, I want to like you, Natasha, but you just keep on asking questions.
I don't think anybody is upset about that. I did recommend our show to a girl in another group that I'm in on Facebook who recently started watching Doctor Who and is unspoiled for the whole thing. And I was like, well, you should listen to the show I do because my co-host doesn't know anything coming up, so I don't spoil any future stuff, so you can listen along. But she's now far surpassed us. She's starting season 5.
Ooh.
She's just been binging it, but she did start to listen to the show. She listened to the first episode. She's like, oh my God, it's so fun. So
yay!
Hopefully she's still listening.
Yeah, it looks like we have in total, according to CommentCast, 34 reviews.
Which is really good.
Yeah, considering how recently we've started this, that is pretty good. Alan Kingsley, turn your wet tubes
I
toward
know.
the show. Alan, what are you doing? Oh, God. I'm the one who said wet tubes. It's me who should be punished. How can I cast a stone at someone else when I live in this tiny little crystal house?
So, do you have anything to plug? I'm sure you do.
I do.
A billion things.
Yeah. So did I make an announcement last week about the changing of the Patreon tiers?
You did.
Okay, good. Because by the time this goes up, it'll be too late. So what are you going to do? But, just mentioning this to people who try and become a patron and they're like, I thought I could do it for $1. July 1st, that will be retired. So if you go to become a patron and you're wondering what the hell happened, that's what it is.
What is the lowest amount going to be?
$5.
$5.
And $5 will get you access to whatever we're currently recording for patrons only, which is a weekly thing. And right now it's Twilight. We just started the second book and Miles is really enjoying it a whole lot more than I ever expected and more than I am, for sure. So it's a weird moment where Miles is very positive on something that I'm just kind of like, nah, whatever. And that's really super rare.
Astounding to me that Miles is enjoying Twilight as much as he is.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's not that I expected him to outright angrily hate it, but I didn't expect him to actively enjoy it the way that he has been.
I think that there's an element of newness because guys don't check out like literature that is geared towards girls most of the time. Girls will dip their toes into stuff that's meant for boys constantly because we have so little available in the first place. But boys they don't check this stuff out because they don't have to. There's a million other things that they can read and watch.
Yeah.
So I think that for him, this is just such a whole new world. And he's like really fascinated by some of the stuff that he has heard about it, compared to how he's seeing it because, people have just been so down on the whole series and the movies and everything. And he went into it really expecting very little and has been surprised by how it's just not as bad as so many people say.
It's not. It's problematic in areas,
for sure.
And it's not she's not a great writer.
No,
but
not at all. There's some moments that she does well, and I'm like, oh shit. And then,
But they're not terrible books overall. It's just when something gets that popular, especially when it's something that's that popular with teenage girls or housewives, as Twilight became very popular with housewives too, or, middle-aged women or whatever. When it's popular with women, then society wants to tear it apart. They did it with Titanic.
Agreed.
They do it with, they don't want women to enjoy things. They being trolls, basically.
Yeah.
And when you're not the type of person that's like, well, I'm going to check this out because I want to see what the big deal is, then you just go by what you hear, which is a lot of negativity.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm enjoying that. And then Miles and I, after we're done with Twilight, we polled the group and got an exact 50-50 split between Mistborn and the Sookie Stackhouse series. And since Mistborn's way shorter, at least the trilogy, which is all that we intend to cover, that is what we are going to be doing first. And then Sookie Stackhouse. So basically for the next 6 years, we're set. So don't talk to us. So that's what's happening there.
I had initially voted for Mistborn because I knew there were a lot of people that really wanted you guys to cover that. And I don't care either way because I'm probably not going to read it. But then I changed my vote to Sookie Stackhouse because I know how badly Krista wants you guys to cover that. So I was like, I'm going to throw that one a bone because she loves that series and really, really wanted you guys to cover it.
Yeah, and I voted for that one myself simply because I've read it. I don't know anything about Mistborn, but I really, really enjoyed the series. It's not the best written thing, but I found the storylines to be really just fun and surprisingly intricate, and the characters to be interesting. So I think that he would have a good time with those as well.
Well, if he's enjoying Twilight, I think it's of a piece. He'll enjoy it probably in the same way. Maybe he'll enjoy it even more because there's a little more depth to them. I gave those books up very quickly. I just did not enjoy them. I enjoyed the first one, but I don't even know if I made it all the way through the second. I can't remember, but I was like, these aren't for me.
The first one I really enjoyed simply because it was so similar to the first season of the show, and it was because of that sort of drew me in on riding the coattails of the show for me. I could see why people sort of lose interest after the second one, but I think it gets really cooking around book 4 or so. Well,
that's what Krista said too, and she has many times tried to not necessarily convince me, but she's advocated for it. If you ever think about giving it another try, they do get much better after the third book.
Yeah, I mean, that's just some of the, issues with being a fairly new author. The same thing with Dresden Files. We have so many posts in the patron group of people who are like, I'm trying to read it and I just can't get into it. There's a lot of male gaze and yada. And I'm like, you're right. That is all true. But I promise, once you get to books 4 and 5, it just starts to improve by leaps and bounds, and it's really worth sticking with. Some things it improves, but it's not really enough to make it worthwhile all the time that you invested already. But I don't feel that about these two series, and I think part of that is because the series overall are so long that what they wound up doing right really begins to outweigh the bad.
Right. I could say the same for Leigh Bardugo. When I first bought the Grisha trilogy, I read some reviews of it because I read the Six of Crows duology first and was just completely enamored. And then I took a leap and bought the trilogy, but then read some reviews before I'd started it. And there was a lot of these characters are really shallowly drawn, or the main character is not very interesting. And I was like, I'm not going to read these. I'm going to read the book and judge for myself. And what I found objectively was her writing progressively gets better and better with each book she writes. And she was never a bad writer, but that first book feels like a first book. And then as you go, her world building gets better, her character development gets stronger, and then you get to Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, where you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Everything she's created is amazing.
Yeah, there's really, it's an interesting phenomenon how different it is with books than it is television. Because television, usually, you get towards the final couple seasons and you're like, all right, put this thing out, shoot it.
Because they're sick of working with this project. People want to move on to the next thing. But when you're a writer, it's like you have to, unless you're being forced by contract to write something.
Right.
Generally, you're writing it because you have a story you want to tell. And that's what you do, is tell these stories. When you're a fucking Game of Thrones showrunners and you want to go off and make Star Wars, you're just going to say fuck it to everything. Right.
Yep. So, yeah, guys, that's what's going on with patrons. And then, fun thing that I will mention, and this is not going to be for a couple of months, but Rashawn is going to be coming to visit me because we are going to LeakyCon, which is in Dallas this year on August 9th, 10th, and 11th. And we have decided that we're going to do a podcast live on camera while she's visiting about John Wick.
You guys are actually going to do that?
Yes. We've talked about it. There is a whole other thing that I would like to do, and she has not quite agreed yet. She's sort of thinking it over because it's a all-day sort of commitment. But I feel like it would just be a good thing. So we'll see if she agrees. But at the very least, we're definitely going to do the podcast together. And I haven't set a date for it yet because, like I said, she hasn't agreed to the other thing, and that will sort of depend on what day we choose. But I will let you guys know and also put it up on Facebook. And I'm also going to be working on getting a calendar that is more accurate on the website as well, because I know not everybody has Facebook. And I had been doing a calendar on the website for a while and then fell totally behind to the point that I just deleted the calendar from the menu because I was embarrassed that somebody's going to click on it and be like, there's nothing happening, when in fact there is so much happening. I haven't gotten to the calendar and I'm sorry. So yeah, I am enlisting Candace and she's helping me with some of that stuff so that I can be freed up for the recordings while she takes care of a lot of the admin things. So thank you to Candace for that. But yeah, so I feel like there was another thing that I wanted to mention, but I am drawing a blank. So I guess it'll have to wait.
I don't have anything else. I don't have anything to promote. Chris and I are doing The Punisher, but it's not in a consistent schedule just because my life blew up recently with my job. Yeah. Today is my first day off in 10 days because people kept calling in sick and I had nobody to cover, so I had to go in. So I twice now she's been like, "Are we recording?" And I'm like, "I cannot." But hopefully we're recording a new episode tomorrow, I think, is the plan right now. So we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, guys. And also, check out the Spoil Me's because there's all kinds of stuff. Gravity Falls, the first episode on that just dropped today, and that was a really fun show. Somebody has commissioned Killing Eve, which won't be until August, but
really,
yeah, they commissioned a voyeur for that. So I'll be on Facebook Live watching it for the first time, and the commissions for The Magicians have been really steady. So I'm already on episode 4 of that, and I believe that there are another 2 commissions for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend as well. So, and that's been really fun to cover. So yeah, there's a lot. And of course, Six of Crows, which Jamie was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. So yeah. All right, cool. Anything else, ma'am, before we wrap it?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Hope that you have enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.